Awareness can become established despite what you feel or tendency to react. Okay, I'll just start with that. Continue so that it answers your question. Awareness doesn't have to correct itself or embody itself in realization. Okay. Awareness in its becoming established doesn't need a thought or a feeling because awareness comes first. It simply is. When you investigate, when you meditate, awareness is the permanent factor that is true. The only thing you can know that is permanent, that is real. As it becomes more established, despite embodiment, despite correcting, it's just what you know amidst the forms that are appearing, the sensations that are arising, and the reaction that is taking. Awareness can be established. Awareness, when it becomes more established, when that becomes what you know is true despite what you think or what you feel, it is then as awareness you can make that distinction as to what you feel and what you think or what is reacting, what is arising naturally. Awareness simply can be established. The embodiment and the correcting then begins to happen. It's got nothing to do with awareness being established in that sense. You don't have to embody, you don't have to correct to know what you are. And to know what you are just is. No correcting, no modifying, no qualification by what you feel or what you think. It's just a reality that opens up. That's simply observing, simply is. The trouble, the problem here is that as awareness does become more established, when it's the knowing that is indifferent to what you think or feel, often people, when established as awareness, when a deep pattern comes up that seems to take you away or seems to have an activation point where you react, that triggers you into reaction or a sense of separation. Often what I've found with people is that they then straight away conclude from a personal place of it shouldn't be like this, or this is I'm back in the ego. Okay, so that old habit of concluding takes you away from simply being awareness, even amidst your dysfunction or your person. So this is where I've said in the past, it takes maturity of awareness. Maturity of awareness is established awareness, where you've come to know that awareness simply is. despite what you feel or what you think. It's only then in established awareness that one can really accept the feeling and the thought without being qualified by it. This is why it takes a level of maturity. And the maturity is one of awareness, remaining as awareness, and it starts to become more established. It starts to become more real than your feeling and the reaction to it. That's what I mean by awareness becomes more established. That's what I mean, despite what you feel or think. And it's only when awareness does become more established that you can really accept yourself. You can really accept the forms that are appearing without being caught up in that pattern to be qualified by it. That pattern to be qualified by it or defined by it is separation, is ego activity. It's a very, very important distinction there. A distinction to be made and seen from awareness. Because when the awakening occurs, when awareness does suddenly realize itself to be permanent and to be without qualification by what you feel and what you think, and only then can you remain in that. Even if there's an activation point to separate, you can remain the witness. You can remain as awareness, not identifying with that pull. You come to see that this pull to separate is built on attention. Contraction is the word they used to use. Contraction. And the only way contraction goes through its own dissolution, or the only way contraction dissipates, is by not identifying with it. And the way to not identify with it is by being established in what you know. The only thing you can know is awareness right now. Okay? Where you don't identify with that, when it goes through its dissolution, you then just become, you then give the body sensation back to its true association of awareness being the experience. That's how it works. So it takes a level of established awareness, simply knowing it. Not the you knowing it, but awareness itself as the self-awareness. Then, and only then, do you start to, through the acceptance of the forms arising without identifying with them, remaining as the witness or observation awareness, can you start to experience, what's that question? Hold on. Experience embodiment and correction. And that's what steps 4 onwards is about. The biggest thing that separates people is the non-acceptance of their reaction and their body sensation. It's the biggest thing that holds people back from becoming established as awareness. Because as soon as you don't accept, as soon as you judge even awakening or what you should, as soon as you go into that realm of this feeling doesn't reflect an enlightened being, or this reaction, and you then think you're caught up in ego. You know, there's a mixed motive in your practice. There's a personal sense of what you want. Awareness doesn't want anything. When you become more established in awareness in what you know, it doesn't actually want anything. It just wants, it just sees. So awareness then can be present in a feeling coming up, and you're absolutely powerless over what feeling comes up. You can't control it. It was only the tendency to react to it that you felt you had a sense of control. So if you got really upset, you could control that pain by being angry and misusing that power of yourself. That's the old habit of separation, but now, as awareness, you'll feel that sensation of pain and that tendency to get angry, but you just remain in what you know, not identifying with the outburst to be angry. Allow that to go through its dissolution and come deeper into the bodily sensation of pain, and allow that pain to come into its true association, rather than being steered into a self-will reaction to yourself. That's kind of how it works. Okay. As soon as you, as awareness, do not identify with the self-will reaction to yourself, the perception corrects. The real perception corrects. The self-will perception in its dissolution comes back to the experience of apperception, which is seeing from being, seeing from awareness, consciousness, witness. You stand corrected. That's where you stand corrected. So there's established awareness, standing corrected, not separating into a self-possessive reaction. And don't be ashamed of your reactions, your self-possessive reactions, and don't want to get rid of them, just see them. And the correcting begins simply by staying in what you know. The embodiment then is what happens when you, as awareness, be in the experience, holding the bodily sensation experience while remaining the experience as awareness. You come to see that the patterns of pain or whatever that bodily sensation was, as it comes into the correct association to true experience, you actually begin to embody what you are in who you are. You know, the what you are and who you are start coming into true association. And there's no one doing it. And it's done for no one. The patterns begin to change. What you come to see is what used to make you react to the pattern caused the tension around the pattern. So as soon as that tension falls away in its dissolution, the pattern softens. It doesn't have that personal sting anymore. It's like the sting being taken out. What you're then directly experiencing are the real feeling, the real response you have to your environment that we could say is conditional. But that conditionality is subject to change when witness bears influence upon it, when it's seen. It starts to open up. And what you are is not here starts to be here via these forms that reflect self-evidence or awareness being the experience. as you become more established, as you become more embodied, as you become more corrected, that's what you are, being experienced. The more you see the reaction, as it becomes less real as time goes on. In fact, I remember when, after the awakening, how unreal this sense of personal self was, that the trigger point that still had a tendency to separate couldn't separate me. I just saw it. It was a pattern. And I was quite astonished to see that what I'd believed in all my life, this personal sense of Steve, was in fact a pattern. The reaction is always a pattern. That fed off the deeper patterning of my memory, the deeper patterning of my heart, or deeper feeling, it just felt very unreal. It just felt, I just saw it as a pattern. So this personal sense of Steve, who is thinking, his body, mind, caught up in this activity, it felt so real. It felt so personal. It was excruciatingly self-conscious. And then after the awakening, seeing from established consciousness, it was just a dynamic. It was just a pattern. How can I was reduced to a pattern that was activated by a thought or a feeling naturally arising. Almost parasitical. This pattern was almost parasitical, feeding off whatever I felt, and whatever I thought or felt motivated a sense of self-doership. When after the awakening, I could see that all is consciousness, that awareness itself, prior to thought arising, is the experience. There's no other experience. There's no other